Okay, next we have my colleague from Beau Marshall, who's the operations manager at IMDEX, and he's going to present on IMDEX at sea. Let's see, there we go. IMDEX at sea, full service drilling fluids for the International Ocean Drilling Program.
Right. Good afternoon, everybody. Appreciate the turnout. As stated here, Beau Marshall. Been in the industry going on about 21 years. I've spent 17 of those in surface core drilling, and I've going on 4 now with IMDEX. Worked in a little over 15 different countries and done some business development, but most of my time has been in senior operations management roles for drilling. And I know a little bit about the business, but I'll go back here real quick. This is the team that we had on the offshore project, and I get that maybe this may not seem like it fits into a mining setting, but you'll kind of see where I get to with all of this. I'm the operations manager, as stated earlier, for the Integrated Field Services Division in the U.S. This model is slowly developing, but it is gaining traction moving forward. And I really do feel that this is something that can and will make a difference in the industry. And I basically, it's taking our current field service model and support model, and we're trying to put boots on the ground that's there every day, working in a tripartite type of a model. What I really like about it is it gets everybody pulling in the same direction. At least that's what it's meant to do. Working with the geology team, working with the drillers, putting together whole plans. If we're going to encounter certain sections, let's change up the mud recipe and have this type of approach as we come into that contact. Then every day you're working with the drill crews and getting feedback from the driller. What is the hole talking back to you? We stop by the core shed, look at the cores, just trying to piece all of this together to have better strategy in helping them achieve their objectives. And spoiler alert, if there's anything that I want you to really take from this topic today, is why is a good mud program important, and what is IMDEX doing about it, right? And so, like as stated earlier, this model is designed to aid in the following, and really I'm going to focus on kind of the first 2 bullet points here, just because there's so much to unpack with project support. And to be honest, the intent is simple, right? How can we alleviate the workload of others and give time back to others, meaning the resource company, those in drill services, in the geology department, the drilling supervisors. There's a lot of things that are on their plates that they have to do that maybe as long as we stay within our lane, we can alleviate that burden for them. And I get that everybody operates differently all around the globe. And so when I speak to how we're doing it in the US, it may not be applicable in other countries, but I'm talking, we try to help with placing the mud orders, taking care of the mud yard. You'll see in this picture here, the blue covers with the mud. We cover the product for the client to just try to give it a better life. We will go out to the drill sites daily, each rig, and do a mud test, and then try to help catch an issue before, sometimes they'll just continue drilling along with bad mud. We try to correct it quickly. If we have mud cleaning equipment on site, we take care of unclogging it. Those things, they tend to need a little looking after. We'll maintenance them. We'll escort the semi-trucks into site. We unload the semi-truck. Anything that is an IMDEX solution, we try to be there and take care of it. We are Johnny on the spot, immediately responding to a call. I've had colleagues come out and visit some of our sites, and they get to see it right then and there. A drill rig calls us, hey, the tablet's not syncing, or I can't get the battery on the gyro to work, and we bring them another one, right? The purpose here is keep those guys and gals turning to the right, right? So, and along with that, we'll throw out and test some of the latest technology. Data and analytics is important. Dana was talking to it a little bit earlier, and when we can try to overlay that information and we try a new mud recipe, is it moving the needle? Is it having an impact? All of these things are very good to try to take into consideration and see if we can kind of have an impact, right? So, and to be quite honest, this model exists for one simple reason. It's to help. We just want to help, right? And we want to help the drillers win, or win bigger, right? If they win, the resource company wins and everybody wins, right? And so now I'm going to talk about some of the bad things, right? Because mud gets screwed up sometimes. It happens. And so the human element is very real. Sometimes we have a revolving door in the workplace of new laborers, and they get stuck with that job. They have no idea of the costs involved if they don't take it seriously or do it right. Or there's time management issues. Sometimes crap hits the fan and they're trying to fix a trash pump and they're trying to manage so many different tasks that they get behind, and they'll just send over water or whatever. And this is not me bashing on drilling contractors or saying that everybody's doing it wrong, but I'm telling you that I come from that side. And these things happen. And sometimes we go by with what's just good enough, but there is room for improvement. This mud right here, that is blown up. That is not what drill fluid looks like. If I go back to the previous slide, that is what mud should look like. You can see in the top right, that's a little bit of overuse of polymer. And then in the bottom right there, that's just adding the pack too fast, and it creates these fish eyes and encapsulates, right? And so it can be, for my rate of things, and if I sum up these bullet points without really going into too much detail, how many of you like to cook? And if you cook, do you have to mix certain ingredients at certain times? Do you have to allow things to cook for a certain amount of time? And if you don't, you may not like what you eat, right? So very, very similar type of concept here, right? And the biggest thing here is that consistency is key. And so for whatever reason that muds get overlooked, whether it's pride or whatnot, sometimes there's an educational aspect that takes place. I'm going to prove to you and show you that it does have an impact. When you don't get the mud mixed properly, or you start to have too much solids in your mud and your tank starts to look like that at the bottom, and if your suction point is too low, you're going to suck up sludge. And when that goes downhole, with fast RPM for core drilling, it centrifuges out in your rods, creates mud rings. You can see it all built up on the latch head. Thank goodness they were able to get that back out of the hole, but sometimes that can actually cause the tube to get stuck. The wire line breaks, now you're tripping pipe, right? So we're trying to avoid these things, but it's important to, having a good mud program is one thing, but if a good mud program isn't followed, it defeats the purpose, right? And so we have found, and I can prove that when we have somebody out there managing this, checking it and looking over it, it moves the needle and it has an impact. And so one of the things, without trying to educate you or bore you too much on the purpose of a drill fluid and what it does, it will have cost implications if it's a little bit out of spec and if it rides out of spec for too long. We create cuttings, right? Which is little sand particles in a sense, you could say, right? So you're pretty much sandblasting, and it's very abrasive and it'll wear out your equipment. It will go through all of your plumbing and it can kind of wreak havoc through that. I want to show you here. So on the photo on the left, this was the driller, okay? Our mud on the left, he wanted to put in a different additive. Started separating his mud. I went back to the site, cut a water bottle in half, scooped up some dirt off the ground. You could see that the dirt is staying on top of our mud, and then it dropped right to the bottom in the other one. After this, we became friends. Right? This had a breakthrough for him, right? And so when I wanted to show some of the bad real quick, but to now show you the type of impact it does have. These are two different projects, all going over a 12-month period, okay? And the main thing I want you to get out of this is if you just look at the dotted black line and the dotted green line, the reason why I chose these two projects is that we had another mud competitor on site, but they were not there every day. And these two projects, we went head to head. One had 4 rigs, the other had 4 rigs, the other one had 3 rigs, the other had 3 rigs. Where there was daily representation with the IMDEX rigs, we outperformed. And maybe it was keeping things in spec. Everybody was drilling in the same area. It wasn't like somebody was just doing pizzos. It was all kind of an equal playing field. But it had an impact, right? So much so that 10% more was drilled, and in this other one here that the formatting's off, 30% extra was drilled. And so I just wanted to show you some of the impact that it can have and the productivity gains that can come from it. We've been rolling this out 12 different countries now, or 12 different projects now. Not going to spend too much time on this one here, but just want you to know that it is starting to, kind of gain traction and have its impact. So this offshore project that we did was interested in this model. And so we invoked this model for them and put somebody out there. They were interested in learning about seawater or freshwater aquifers that are kind of prevalent all around the world. And so there's a video of to explain this better, because this is not my forte. And so I will ask our AV guy to play the video, and I hope you enjoy this short break.
One of the last places you would probably look for fresh water on Earth is beneath the ocean, which is full of salt. We're currently about 25 to 30 miles off the coastline. We have about 160 feet of water beneath us. And then we're drilling down another 300 feet, and we're starting to see water that doesn't look like an ocean. It has much less salt in the ocean, almost to the definition of fresh water. So 1 part per 1,000 salt we've discovered. So what we're learning here in New England this summer, we can apply to other areas to put this understanding in a global context, which is really important when you think about by 2030, 60% of the world's population won't have continuous access to fresh water. One of the ideas is 20,000 years ago, there was a large ice sheet above us, and that ice sheet was melting at the bottom, and it pushed that fresh water down beneath the continental shelf. Then sea level rose when those glaciers melted and trapped all that fresh water. Another hypothesis is in the geological past, sea levels have been lower, 300 feet lower. Instead of having 150 feet of water beneath us, this was a beach, and we just had rainwater coming down and seeping into the ground. But now it's been flooded by the ocean. So this is the first study ever that's hunted for the origin of these fresh waters beneath the ocean. The two most surprising things that we've seen here are, one, that the freshened water is starting at a much shallower depth than we had originally anticipated, and ending deeper than we had originally anticipated, indicating that there's probably more freshened water here than we thought 2 months ago before we started this expedition. Another interesting thing that we've seen is everything that we're drilling through, rocks that are tens of millions of years old, are still loose sediments like beach sand and clay that you would buy at a modeling store. And so why haven't these turned into rocks? This might be part of the fluid flow story that explains this freshened water system.
We have to be really careful about trying to understand and think about exploiting these kinds of resources, because we just don't understand enough about what the impacts of doing that would be to our main onshore supplies. If we were to start pumping, for instance, is it an isolated body? If it is, then once it's tapped and drained, then it's gone.
Thank you. So I'm going to flip through some of these slides, because had that not been working, I would have had to explain it. So, but hopefully you guys understand, regardless of whatever the purpose was, they enlisted in our services. They wanted us to help them with their fluid program. And there was a lot of challenges we had to overcome. Obviously, you could see that it was pretty remote, being 20 to 30 miles off coast in the middle of nowhere, the ocean. Salt water, there's only so many fluid additives you can use for that are environmental friendly. So we had to be selective with that. We were trying to avoid, sometimes these scientific projects, they have objectives that if you use the drilling fluids you would really like to use, it'll compromise what they're after. And so a lot of times they want us to try to just drill with straight water and try to avoid bentonites. So we had to take that into consideration. Plus you could see that the deck of that boat was pretty crammed, and so there wasn't a lot of space to have pallets of saltwater gel and whatnot. Also, we designed and used our own mud mixing system out there that had electrical pumps. Gasoline is combustible, and you cannot have anything gasoline offshore for purposes that I think we all understand. And then the geology. This was some of the most challenging geology to drill through. Sand, silts, clays. There was nothing competent. And then these projects, they have a fixed budget and fixed time frame and a certain weather window. And so we were up against the clock with all of these things. And so there was an intense amount of planning and collaboration that needed to take place with the drilling contractor and the client. So now I'll just kind of repeat some of the stuff a little bit earlier. So this integrated field services model, we put an on-site technician, we provided the drilling fluids, we provided the mud mixing system, we provided the mud cleaning equipment. We did have fluid returns, and we were bringing back sand, a lot of sand. And we used a very expensive product, so being able to recirculate it was going to have a big impact on the budget. We provided mud engineering and daily testing, inventory management, and training of the drill crews. Our on-site staff, these guys acted as mud reps and SRE mechanics and mud system mechanics. They were on call every day, and I mean, it was nice. You just come down right downstairs and boom, you're right at work. But they did all of these things here to try to make sure that the project stayed in tip-top shape for operating and getting the objectives done. These are some of the samples that we looked at, but you can see here that these are soft sediments, right? Nothing really glued together. And for this project, we used X-Form D, which is environmentally friendly, biodegradable. This product had excellent hole cleaning capacity. I can't speak enough to it, so much so that the sand would come back and the returns would come back so much it would clog our SRUs. And it became, it was something that had to be managed, but the amount of material it was bringing back from the hole was great. I still, to this day, can't understand how, over the 6 holes that we drilled, those rods, whenever they tripped pipe and went back down, they went right back down to bottom. And they went through 200 meters of sand, right? Unbelievable. Anytime they would pull up to break a joint, the rods went right back down to bottom. I want to say I give credit to the drilling contractor for that as well. They could have easily got their pump rate wrong and could have blown the hole apart, but it was very, very impressive. This one here, the slide didn't come through, but it was just talking about some of the things that I just mentioned there. They drilled 6 holes. They are ecstatic with the results. They got all of the work accomplished that they needed to do. And the reasons for the success, I really, really feel, are the planning and preparation, great mud product, good mud mixing equipment that gave the proper shear rate for the product. I just want to say this is a letter from the head of the BGS, just saying that this was probably one of the best projects that they've been a part of. And going forward, they plan on speccing this mud for all of their future projects. I want to just speak real quickly because I know I'm over time. The teamwork. If you were to remove the logo off of everybody's shirts, you would not know who worked for who. IMDEX doesn't drill holes. We have directional drilling services, yes, and drilling fluid does not drill holes. Bort Longear and their crews and Matrix Offshore Services with their special tooling and their guidance and advice, I can't speak enough to the work that they did. They all did a really, really good job, and this has been a heck of a project to be a part of. And with that, I will leave you with that. So.